Hi everyone, welcome to the Boys Club. I'm Clarke Wolfe.
I'm Holly Payne.
And we're going to do a special show for you all today that we're both really excited about. And actually we just decided to do about 90 seconds ago.
Exactly. Well, because we're both enthusiastic and it's just coming out.
It's just coming out. And do you want to tell them what it is?
Yes, X-Men Days of Future Past.
Yeah! So we're going to just go ahead and say right off the bat right now, if you have not seen the movie, we're going to talk about it We're going to talk about it, spoilers and all. So
bookmark it and then watch it later.
Exactly.
Because you don't want to be, we're going to tell you a lot of things about this. So.
Yes. So let's start with, I'm just going to throw out there right now that I was really excited. Well, I hadn't seen anything from this movie.
Oh.
Meaning no trailers.
You haven't seen any trailers?
No trailers.
Wow. Okay.
Because I don't have cable. And so this one, I hadn't seen anything from it. But I was excited about it because I like the idea of blending the first class cast with the traditional X-Men cast.
Yes, I agree.
So I was excited.
But I had my misgivings too. I really didn't have faith that this was going to work.
Really? Okay, let's talk about that. Explain.
Okay, well, first of all, I mean, I hate to say it, but Bryan Singer, for me, has not had the best recent track record.
Agreed.
So, I mean, really, really bad. Jack and the Giant Slayer. Horrible, horrible movies recently. Yeah, so, and I loved Matthew Vaughn's First Class.
I did too.
And I love the sense of humor. I love the stylistic qualities of it. There's so many things that were... It's my favorite X-Men movie. We talked about this before, too, but it's my favorite X-Men movie there is.
Me too.
So, having said that, my expectations were low, and then I was so impressed with this. I was really, actually blown away by how well Bryan Singer was able to work with such a huge ensemble cast and to bring so many... I mean, starting off with the action right off the bat. Oh my God.
The Sentinels.
The Sentinels. Can we talk about those?
Yeah, let's talk about them. They're pretty fucked up.
They're so smartly designed, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I admittedly have very little knowledge of the comic books. So, did this storyline
I know some. I'm not as big of a comic book fan as, say, my boyfriend, John Schnepp.
Sure.
But yeah, they weren't as loyal to the comics, but they brought everything from the past X-Men films into this that I thought worked.
Okay.
And all the elements, the fact that they started off right off the bat with bringing the Sentinels in with having, basically, they're like super mutants.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Which, I mean, that part I don't think was in the comic books, but you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, because, like I said, I'm not the big comic book fan either. But what I loved about Sentinels was the fact that they brought in, you know, the shape-shifting of Mystique. They brought it. You could just, the way they showed that was just incredible, and it made them scarier to me.
Definitely. And speaking of Bryan Singer and bringing kind of all of that in, I remembered hearing, let's see, I think it was when the first poster was released or some image was released or something, but it was back in August of last year, so August 2013, and I remembered Bryan Singer giving a quote saying, "We're going to right a lot of wrongs that have happened in the X-Men universe." And I remember kind of being like, you know what? Let's just excuse.
Oh, you had questions about that too.
I did. Yeah. I interpreted that him as saying like, well, since I've left the franchise, things have kind of gone downhill. And I kind of was like, no, I think Matt Vaughn is the one that set this back on track.
Yeah. I
don't need you to come in here.
It's a new world order.
Exactly.
That's what it felt like. When Matthew Vaughn came in, I was like, this is the punch. This is the excitement, the energy we needed infused back into this franchise.
Yes. Now that being said, when I finally saw Days of Future Past, I understood, giving Singer the benefit of the doubt, I understood a little bit more what he meant.
Right.
You know, by correcting, and it's like, okay, I see how you've set this all back up. I see how the motivation of this film was to really expand the franchise and allow all of the original characters to do more. So I got that. It didn't seem...
I know where you're coming from, though, because I felt the same way about Bryan Singer. I was like, and that's part of why I had my, doubts about him doing a good job with this, is because in the past he's had some, it's like the X-Men are mine. I created this. And I felt like he was being taking a little bit of a dig at Matthew Vaughn's interpretation.
And definitely Brett Ratner, which, I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I kind of felt too like, all right, well, Bryan Singer, you're the one that left it's not like the studio was like, could you stop making X-Men movies, please?
Exactly.
It's like, you know, he said, well, I'm bigger, I'm better, I'm whatever, I'm gonna go and do my own thing, and as that has proven, or as his recent track record has shown, doing his own thing, not as a director at least. I mean, he's produced a handful of things, and that's cool too, but as a director, not so great results. And so now you're coming back to X-Men kind of being like, oh, don't worry guys, I'm back,
guys.
I'm back, don't worry. And it's like, okay, we were fine without you. Thank you, Bryan Singer. But regardless, he did bring it, and giving him the benefit of the doubt if he was talking about actual storyline and actual that kind of correction, okay, I give you that, like, that makes sense.
And you know what? He did it.
He did.
He totally did it, and I thought that he did it so beautifully. I thought that it was, as far as a time travel story, that's a really hard thing to do well.
Yep.
And he managed to do it so flawlessly. I was with it 100% through the entire thing, and I was like, wow, this is, and it gave every single character their moment to shine. And that's a really hard thing to do with that huge, you know, cast.
I was also nervous too that a lot of the energy and tone that we had seen in First Class was kind of get lost and drop by the wayside when Singer returned, and we were gonna go back.
You're hitting all of the reasons that I had. I had the same thought in my head before it started. I was like, God, I hope he doesn't just, you know, strip away all the awesome stylistic things that Vaughn brought in.
But he didn't. And actually it felt to me like a really nice blend between X-Men 1 and 2 and the energy and tone that had been brought with First Class. Yeah. It felt like a really nice, you know,
it was a natural, organic fusion of all of those things, and it really did, as he said, it did wrong a lot of those rights. But let's talk about some of our favorite scenes.
You know, well, the scene that everybody's talking about, that I've already read about, and it's, you know, we're taping this on the day it's released, technically, is a Quicksilver scene. We need to talk about Evan Peters and Quicksilver.
Oh my God.
Talk about a scene. Somebody stole the show. I mean,
pretty much. I was thinking, I mean, I don't know if everybody knows, but Clarke knows I'm a big Michael Fassbender fan. And I was really wanting a lot of Magneto in this, but I gotta say, Evan Peters kind of stole the show, even from Magneto in this. I mean, Michael Fassbender is amazing as Magneto, but that scene, just the slow-mo, the humor in it, the fact that it was satisfyingly long, you know what I mean? And they just took their time with it, and the looks on everyone else's faces in the room, just the slow-mo of that fist. Oh my God, there's just so many amazing moments in that scene.
Well, and let's also talk about, I think that leads into a conversation about the dynamics between the actors, because, you know, you have the First Class cast of you've got Fassbender and you've got McAvoy, and who's the guy who plays Beast?
That is Nicholas Hoult.
Yes, Nicholas Hoult. And then you got Hugh Jackman. You would think that it could be, there is a potential for Hugh Jackman to kind of be like the, I don't know, not Hugh Jackman, because we all know that Hugh Jackman is a doll baby from heaven, and whatever, like, you know, but for all intents and purposes, he's the most lovely man on the planet.
I just want him to sing in the next one.
I do too! Oh, how wonderful would that be? But anyway, but the chemistry between the new cast and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is so great. They all work together so well, and I think that fun dynamic with that goofy, quirky, like, kid who's kind of annoying that Evan Peters character, or that Quicksilver brings, it just was perfect. Yeah. It worked so perfectly.
And they set it up so well from the get-go. It's like, oh, he's in his mother's basement. Right. You know, there's, you know, crates of Hostess products and stuff.
Oh my God,
just
so
stolen.
Funny.
I mean, you know this kid's a punk, right? And that he's just going to use his powers for stupid shit. So, but then he ends up having a cause and having a reason and joining forces with everybody else, and his moments are just, and his moments with Michael Fassbender, just even in the elevator.
Yeah. Oh God.
Like when he holds his head.
Yeah.
He's like, sorry, that's, you know.
Whiplash.
And Fassbender's face is just like, it's so funny and subtle and really well done.
I also want to give major props to James McAvoy. I think he's great. Yeah. I think he's just lovely, and I like him in everything I've ever seen him in. Have you seen Filth?
I'm dying to see it.
we should see.
You know what? We can, I was going to say we can video on demand it and we'll watch it here if you want to.
Perfect. Okay, so that's going to be, we'll expect that review show at some point. But I think James McAvoy is a really talented actor. And I think that he, you know, he really believed, I noticed that a lot of the shots that we saw in Days of Future Past were straight on the actor's face. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you think about it, if you really think about what it would take to get that shot, that actor is acting to a camera.
Yeah.
And McAvoy especially really just having to turn in this performance.
And his vulnerability in it.
I mean, just like, because think about it, when he's you know, Charles Xavier, he's alone. He's getting into their heads, but it's like you would never know unless you knew how a movie was made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I believed it 100%, but if you really think about it, so many of those emotional scenes that he's having to play are just him.
Yeah.
Just him bouncing off nobody.
And he actually, I think part of the reason that it works so well and part of the reason this film works on so many levels is the fact that the actors that are portraying these roles are bringing their A game. And it's not just an action movie.
It's not just a paycheck either.
Nothing is tossed away, and you see that with McAvoy, you see that with Fassbender, with Hugh Jackman, with Jennifer Lawrence. Mm-hmm. Everybody who's in it is committed 1,000%. And I was going to say also about the X-Men in general, I have to say the X-Men as a franchise, just as, actually not as a franchise, as a comic book, is one of my favorite stories because it's about race wars. It's not about...
It's about society and
It's about society and everyone is affected.
Right.
It's not... There isn't a handful of heroes like, say, in the Avengers where you have, you know, you've got your core guys, you know, and one woman, you know?
Yeah.
But this is much more... It's like everybody... It's humans versus mutants.
Right.
It's a story that's been told over and over and over again in history, and it's an incredible parable for just what's happening in our society today.
Yeah.
You know? I love the things that they said about JFK. I love that Magneto was, no, I was trying to save him. I wasn't trying to kill him. And, you know, there's so many elements that they brought in, and they used the 70s really well. Mm-hmm. Dinklage, of course. We haven't talked about Dinklage.
Oh, right. Great.
What'd you think of him as Trask?
You know, I thought it was interesting how... Because I don't know that character from the comic books. Mm-hmm. In the comic books, is he a little person?
No.
Okay, so here's my question: mm-hmm. as an actor who is a little person, mm-hmm. why did they not, you know, that physicality would, I'm assuming, elicit some sort of bigotry or bullying or something throughout one's own life. Mm-hmm. I don't know why we didn't really, like, I would have liked to have had some sort of talk about that. Like, they never mention it, which, on the one hand, mm-hmm. makes sense, because it's like, you don't have to, you know, the right actor for the right role. I totally get that.
Okay.
But in a story,
right.
a story about us versus them, mm-hmm. mutants versus humans, do you think that we should have brought that up? Do you get what I'm saying?
I do. I get exactly what you're saying, and I feel like it's better that they didn't, because I feel
could go
like,
both ways.
For me anyway, it was great that they got Dinklage, because he's human.
Sure.
Trask is human, but he's had to deal with bigotry and all of that his whole life. You're assuming, because anyone in his position is going to encounter that.
Sure.
But he's human. He's not mutant. So
there's,
you know what I mean?
That's interesting.
So that there might be animosity in, like, I don't have any powers. I've just dealt with bigotry my entire life. Fuck you. You know what I mean?
That's really interesting.
So, yeah.
It's like, it's this very, very human justification, especially when it comes to racism or bigotry or whatever, of, well, I'm this, but at least I'm not that, or I'm not this, or I'm still better than you because...
Yeah, it's like, it's
so
differences that are arbitrary that we all deal with on a daily basis, you know, whether someone's gay or straight, whether someone's...
Right,
You know, there are so many permutations of bigotry in the world,
yeah.
And I felt like the reason what worked for me about having Dinklage play Trask was that he was human,
sure,
and that he's not a mutant. He didn't get any special, you know,
so
special powers. That he's just
well, and also, by the way,
that's got to create a lot of anger. In
yeah,
someone,
and it's loaded. It's loaded casting, regardless. Which in that context, I'm not saying casting Peter Dinklage is loaded casting, because it's not. But in this particular role and in this particular movie, it's saying something without saying anything.
That's why I like that they didn't comment on it.
Yeah, that's neat. That's really, really
that
neat.
was just my own interpretation of it, but it made sense to me. It was like, wow, that's a beautiful little...
A little nod, or a little subtle thing that's there.
And also knowing that, whether it was intentional or not by Bryan Singer, who's gay, there's also bigotry there, too. That, you know what I mean? That maybe there's so many reasons why I think Bryan Singer feels precious about this material.
Yes.
And... again, having a little person be in it as well brings in even another layer,
I was even thinking, and I mean, I don't mean this in a distracting way. I think that just by nature of what I do, what you do, what we do for a living, or what we see, just in our jobs, sometimes there's I look at films and I go, oh, this or that or whatever, and on that note, and on Bryan, the issue of sexuality, I noticed that you have two out actors in Ellen Page and Ian McKellen in this cast, and those are just actors who are out. I mean, not to but so yes, it's a really loaded but awesome franchise, and I think that the people that they have assembled to bring the franchise to life clearly have their own stake in that.
It's a whole world of diversity, and that's why I love the X-Men in general. But it's really the cast and the director and everyone in it is so. There's a reason why this whole ensemble works.
Right.
But I also wanted to mention. You said the word "but" just a minute ago, and I was like, you know what? I want to thank Bryan Singer for something else, too.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I was like, oh, thank you, Bryan Singer.
I want to thank him, too. Thanks, Bryan Singer.
Thanks, Bryan Singer.
I appreciate that.
For the ladies and the gay boys, gotta say.
Hello.
There was a nice butt shot of Hugh Jackman. That's what we're talking about.
I've been waiting like 900 movies for that. I think we all have.
I was like, as he was standing up, I was like, I hope they stay on his ass. It's terrible to say that, but it's
that is true. For as much as we talk about objectification on this, this show,
I know, horrible.
You know what? Hugh Jackman knew what he was doing. Okay, he knew that was going to be a little something for those who are interested. Yeah. I was interested in that.
You guys got to see Mystique in all her glory.
We've been looking at naked Rebecca Romijn and fucking Jennifer Lawrence for all those movies.
Speaking of, thank you for bringing that up. I would like to say Jennifer Lawrence has kind of erased Rebecca Romijn for me as far as Mystique is concerned. Going back to those older movies, she just owned it so much in this film. That she kicked ass. And you could see her turning into Mystique. I mean, she was Mystique in this one. She wasn't, a Raven anymore. She was definitely Mystique and bringing all the action. And I feel like if you go back and watch those older films, the older X-Men films, Rebecca Romijn is good for the time frame that she was doing, but it's like I said, it's a new world order.
And to be fair, I mean, I don't really feel like they ever gave that character much to do in the older movies.
No, I agree with
you. But at the same time, Jennifer Lawrence is an Academy Award-winning actress, and it's like, well, if we have this at our disposal, we might as well play to our strengths.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, she's great. Jennifer Lawrence is great in this movie, and I think everybody is.
Yeah. I also wanted to talk about, speaking of Hugh Jackman again, the scene with, he goes through so much in this movie, but I liked the role reversal of Professor X and Wolverine, and the fact that Wolverine becomes
the teacher
in
a way,
which is just such a cool twist, and you just see a side of Charles you've never seen before,
right?
And you see Wolverine, Logan basically saying, "Stay with me here." You've got to see that whole scene where he's like seeing what's happened with Stryker and what's happened in Hugh Jackman's, in Wolverine's life, the fact that he kills Jean Grey. He sees all this horrible stuff, and he's like, just go past it. Go see yourself. Go past it. And every part of that was just so poignant and emotional for both of them. But I love that Mentor became mentor.
Right. And the idea, too, that they touch on the idea of drug addiction in this movie.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on here, but I think that it's good because, like you said earlier, that is the strength of the X-Men story.
Mm-hmm.
The strength of these characters throughout the comics, throughout however long, throughout their inception, is that there is a lot of political and topical and sociological dynamics here.
Yeah.
And I like that this studio and this franchise has not shied away from that, because I think it would be very, very easy to sort of brush it under the rug, but they don't. And that I think is showing real respect for the source material.
Absolutely, for the source material, and also I love that already it's pretty much anticipated this is going to be the biggest moneymaker of the year.
Right.
It's going to crush Godzilla. It's going to crush Spider-Man 2. But the fact that this is a film ultimately about diversity, and that it is going to be the biggest blockbuster of the summer, hands down, means maybe we'll get some more people's eyes being open to, oh, wait a minute, this is a parable. This is a story that's telling us more about ourselves than any other superhero movie that you might see. So
fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And it's just a great movie.
Yeah.
It's, even if all that goes right over your head and you're not into it and you're like, oh, I hate all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what? It's just fun.
And it's really fun. I mean, like I said before, there's so much humor in this movie. When Wolverine comes to the school and Beast opens the door barely and then just comes at him.
They're great.
I mean, hilarious moments in this film that are just so well done, and I think that's another reason it makes it so good, is the fact that yes, you're dealing with some really dire situations and really heavy stuff, but you can't have a heavy movie without lightening it a little bit with some humor.
Super fun, great action, great costumes, great effects, great set pieces. I mean, it's just a great one.
And then bringing it back to, sorry, I keep going on, but bringing it back to the old school, like when Logan comes back and he's back in the school and there's Rogue and there's, you know what I mean? It was really neat. It was neat, and they set it up so that now this universe can quite literally go on forever. Yeah. I mean, it's now we've got all of these other adventures to go on, so it's cool. But it's a great watch, and you guys should check it out. Which I know we're gonna have to twist your arm to go see X-Men this weekend. Were you thinking about not seeing it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've got a little message for you. Yes, we're very brave for recommending X-Men.
That little indie
during
film?
summer movie season.
That little indie.
Exactly. We're gonna do go watch Moon and then X-Men Days of Future Past.
Why can't they bring Sam Rockwell into an X-Men character? What? Wouldn't that be amazing?
Because I guess has he sullied his situation with Iron Man 2? Oh. But you know what? Ryan Reynolds bounced around from franchises. It's not unheard of.
Sorry, I just had a Green Lantern flashback.
Yeah, poor Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds would have been, seriously, side note, I think if used well, he would have...
I think he would have been great.
He would have been great in something.
Yeah.
Can we find him a franchise that's not Van Wilder?
Wasn't he Deadpool, though?
Yeah, but that's not...
No,
that's not good either.
Not good.
It's like, he just is misused.
He's always that's my point. He's always misused.
Oh my god, we should do like a whole poor well, poor Ryan Reynolds, my ass. He's really hot, and he's married to fucking what's her name, and she's hot, and
who's he?
Blake Lively.
Oh, that's right. He was married to Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. So I don't feel bad for Ryan Reynolds. Let's all.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Poor Ryan.
Yeah. Boo-hoo.
Anyway.
Okay. Go see Days of Future Past. I know we're talking you into it. If you haven't already seen it, and subscribe to the channel. We've got some fun stuff coming your way. For sure this time.
Yeah. Sorry for the delay on the last.
We were gonna do Fargo. It's out there, but unfortunately, neither of us have cable.
It's kind of sad. Nor did I want to buy it or pirate it. So I was
we didn't steal, but we didn't spend money either.
So we're gonna do something else.
But we know it's official. We're gonna do it, so don't worry. But in the meantime, enjoy our You Should Sees and subscribe and follow us on Twitter, as you can see right here.
And see Days of Future Past.
See Days of Future Past. Yes. Okay. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Clarke Wolfe.
I'm Holly Payne.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.